afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Stock Market Today. Ali Corman, Ed Carson here with a breakdown of the action in today's session, where we saw a mixed day and small caps leading on the upside, Ed.
That's right, Ali. There were some stocks that did well, like Freeport-McMoRan. We also had a solar tan ETF, which continues to shine, and ZipRecruiter, which has had some wild action, but definitely a good day today.
Yeah, well, we will highlight all of those after we take a look at the market action. So the NASDAQ up about 0.5% today, but small caps, as I mentioned, leading on the upside up about 0.9%. The S&P 500 slightly higher for the day, and the Dow on the downside down about 0.4%. So a little bit of a bounce here for the NASDAQ after a pretty significant decline in Wednesday's session.
Yeah, there was modest bounces, and this was really, really didn't move much during the day. You can see it was pretty much just a dot. I mean, it sort of closed near maybe session lows, but it wasn't exactly a big meaty day. It was an inside day for sure. You can see it's definitely well within yesterday's highs and lows. The S&P and the Russell also were that way. The Dow actually undercut yesterday's low, but generally the market, it was an inside day. Nothing. Generally, when it's an inside day, you don't make too much of it. I mean, to be honest, when it's an individual stock or an index, so it's hard to get too excited either way. I mean, this is actually somewhat nice because it'd be if we had sideways action for a while, it would probably be healthy, because if we ran up again, the NASDAQ would get extended again. It's not extended right now anymore, but it could be. And if it kept on falling, well, if that's not great news if you own stocks. So sideways action, maybe just a gradual tiny decline, would allow maybe for some new bases to form.
Yep, that would be nice. And Disney, of course, weighing on the Dow today. But let's check in on how growth stocks fared. So here's the FFTY ETF, which tracks the IBD 50, up about 2.3% right now today. So a pretty solid day for growth stocks. But of course, that comes after a not so great day yesterday for growth, taking a hit of more than 4%.
Yeah, I mean, so it's an inside day. I mean, on the upper half of that, but inside day, inside week, kind of action in that sense. So yeah, I mean, there were some nice winners today, back and forth in this index and among growth stocks, but it's still not really anything decisively changing.
Okay, well, some mining stocks in the spotlight today, including Freeport-McMoRan, as you mentioned, breaking out of a cup with handle base today with a gain of 9%. Some nice volume behind this move, Ed. So what do you think of the action?
Well, I like it. I mean, I own some shares from previously. I just want to disclose that. I did not add to it today. I want to get on some of these commodity plays early and then just sort of let it ride. I don't have a big position. One downside, as people noted, we were talking about on IBD Live, and I don't think we discussed this. In fact, the strength line isn't the greatest, but today it got above that handle area. It sort of got above the highest level in several months. And you can sort of argue that when a sector has been out of favor, it's not a surprise the RS line is weak. I mean, this isn't a laggard EV stock. It's a little different. I mean, it's not a laggard chip maker. The miners have been weak. This sort of is leading the miners. So, maybe there's that positive aspect of it.
Yes, we've been talking about IBD Live, especially with IBD founder William O'Neill protege David Ryan, about how he's been focusing on this industry group rotation and looking at groups that are starting to come back after periods of being out of favor. So this definitely fits the bill. And so taking a look at an earlier entry, I'm assuming this is around where you got in, Ed, a declining tops trend line with the stock getting back above its 200-day line.
Yeah, that's where I got in. I think this is a perfectly fine spot, and I thought about adding to it, but nice action today. It was stock of the day a couple of days ago.
Well, early entries are the way to go. We've been talking about this year. And let's talk about TAN, the ETF tracking the solar group, presenting an entry today. This one also had some earlier entries with various declining tops trend lines in mid-October, getting back above the 50-day as well, getting above the 200-day. And with this bounce off of the 21-day, another chance to buy.
Yeah, and TAN, which its number one component is Enphase, it has SolarEdge, it has First Solar, a lot of the new names, and a lot of them are doing well, but it also means that you get a little less risk, but this one moves pretty nicely. This has big moves. You can have some big moves on the downside too. You're not going to avoid, I mean, because they do tend to move together. I mean, so while you would limit that risk, you're not avoiding it. Nice move last year, obviously. Maybe you're coming again. You could almost argue this is a handle within a larger consolidation or a hand or a shelf next to that, consolidation that it is sort of cleared over recently, and so bounce from the 21-day line, breaking that trend line. You could take an entry here. It is aggressive, but this seems to be an industry on the rise.
Well, Tana's on Swing Trader taking advantage of one of those earlier entries, and it was today's stock of the day, or I guess trade of the day, but stock of the day column. And ZipRecruiter is second time the charm, breaking out today or attempting to break out of this cup with handle base with a gain of 13%, quite a bit of volume behind this move to the upside today, Ed.
Yeah, it looks like one of the strongest since maybe the first week. So that's a really positive sign. Revenue is doubling. The earnings are down. I guess they're spending a lot on marketing, advertising. There's a blue dot on the RS line. So this is the highest it's ever been. Nice. So there's a lot of things to be positive. On the other hand, this looks like somebody is doing a seismograph kind of thing where it's just like rolling up on there. And that makes it a little tricky on that front, is that we've seen those ups and downs. It makes you nervous. Okay, it's moving up, but it's shown the character that it could fall 5, 10, 20% in another, in a single day. So that's just always a challenge. This one definitely could work.
Yeah, because a couple of weeks ago, this stock had one of those breakout fake outs, trying to move above a cup with handle, but turned tail. Now seeing it flip the other way. And as you mentioned about the bottom line, Wall Street seems like is shifting its focus more to rewarding that top line growth. So seeing a second quarter in a row of triple digit top line growth is interesting, I think, to point out. But will this breakout stick, I think, is the big question.
Yeah. And so you might, again, we sometimes talk about this with new IPOs. This is relatively new, and it's certainly wild like an IPO, that maybe take a smaller position just to caution against, because if it does fall 10, 15%, it could happen very quickly. Then you don't lose too much. We try to say limit your losses to no more than 7, 8%. I'm not saying you should take a 15% loss on this, but it's something that could be so volatile. You have to consider how much risk do you want to put into a stock, even though there's a lot of positives to it.
Yeah, because you would be buying into strength here versus on one of those pullbacks. So we'll keep that in mind. All right, Ed, thank you so much for your analysis today. And the team will be back tomorrow morning with more on IBD Live, where we will be joined by special guest Joe Fahmy of Zor Capital. Always appreciate his insights. So make sure you tune in. We'll have to see what stocks are on his radar and have been since the follow through day, and how he's positioning himself at this market juncture. So looking forward to that. Go to investors.com/IBD Live for all the details. We'll see you there in the morning and right back here after the close. Have a good one, everyone.